Hello there and welcome to this vlog of September 2023, and today's video is going to be a supplementary video to something that I did several weeks ago now, which was, I can't remember the exact title, but it was something like the top 10 mechs missed from the Mercenaries Kickstarter or something like that. Those videos seem to be quite popular, get a lot of comments, start a lot of discussion. So I thought what I'd do for this, um, there were lots and lots of comments, lots of interesting comments, lots of good takes in regards what they thought should have potentially appeared in that Kickstarter that didn't. All very polite as well. Nobody was like spitting fire. Everyone, I think, is very happy with the work on the Kickstarter. This is just an interesting series of videos to do across the community, just to see what our thoughts are. So I thought I'd do like a supplementary where I do another 5 using some of my own, kind of opinion, but also kind of pulling some of the like the comments and that appeared in that video, and then looking into it and saying, oh yeah, actually that mech would be like a really good choice. I also, as well, I mean, don't know if Catalyst go out to like small content creators like me on my little channel here, but I think it is quite useful. I mean, it's basically just market research to some extent. I mean, if you're hunting down smaller channels like mine and you're a BattleTech fan, we're the real key demographic, right? So, if somebody from them does look at this, they're going to have 15 mechs that they think, oh, this is, something that the I suppose the highest spend area of the community wants. So, oh yeah, they've got some justification now to go and say, oh, we should do this one. And I think you'd be surprised how much companies do stuff like that. It's basically just free market research, and especially like the way that I do it, which is pretty digestible. Like, I'm not sat here for like 5 hours. I mean, I know my videos can waffle on a little bit, but it's like it's pretty concise. It's time stamped. You can kind of see just like the 10 that I've gone through. So you don't have to sit there for 30 minutes and watch it. Just stick me on 1.5 speed and just have a look at the timestamps, and you can see. You can then just do the analysis in the comments, and if you've got videos that are getting like dozens or hundreds of comments saying, yeah, we really should get this or we really should get that, it just gives them an idea of what direction the community wants. So yeah, it's quite a proactive thing to do, I think, and I quite like doing it as well. It's quite fun, and I especially like speaking to the community members and who throw their kind of ideas into the hat here. So again, just a top 5 today. So nothing too like elaborate or special. You got a sneak preview then, I think, because my like photo browser here brings some up. Doesn't give the names, but you might have seen some of the pictures there that gave some of it away. But if you saw that, you saw it. If you didn't, you didn't. So number 5 then is the Tarantula. The Tarantula. Now, usually what I'd do is, and I did this on the last format, I'd go into Flex and we can have a look at said mech. But unfortunately today, because this is a quad mech, we can do it for the bipedal mechs, but for the quad mech, I'm just going to stick it to Sana. So we can't actually see the breakdown of the mech in terms of like, where its criticals are and things like that. We're just going to have a look at its Sana article here. The Tarantula, so it's a tiny mech. It's a 25 tonner. It's a quad mech. I really did want a quad mech in there as well, because they're obviously doing the Scorpion and the Goliath. I think quad mechs are popular. I have got very mixed feelings about quad mechs. The Scorpion and the Goliath I'm absolutely fine with, because they're kind of prototypes from the very early stages of BattleTech, and they're not too derpy. I think quad mechs, as you kind of get into the later era, though, can really kind of fall into the same bracket as proto mechs if you're not careful. The Tarantula almost falls on it, but there's something about the Tarantula that I think is really cool, and again, it's unique. So it's a 3054 mech, so it's kind of the redevelopment of quad mechs, and that's just because it's so light, and you could like spam like a company of these, and they're really quite dangerous. Like, if you look at their weapon loadouts here, we've got 1 Streak SRM2 and 2 M lasers, which you know, you look at that and you think that's not tearing up any trees. But then, you know, what's the battle value here? Ooh, 666, very apt. They are the devil's work here, the Tarantula. And you know, I mean, think you could get like 12 of them in a force quite easily. You'd probably get thrown off tabletop for doing that because it's a bit, you know, it's a bit silly to do things like that. But in a lore perspective, you can kind of imagine a company of tarantulas, and it's almost thematic. You know, like these little tiny mechs just scuttling across the playing field or the battlefield, like shooting off there. If there's 12 of them, 24 M lasers a turn and 12 streak SRM2s. So they are dangerous. I mean, they'd absolutely take up positionals. I just like that idea of like little derpy 25-ton quad mechs just scuttling around doing damage. Yeah, I don't know why. Instinctively, I want to hate that because, you know, BattleTech's very grounded. But with that, just something about that resonates. So I think the Tarantula would be a good one for them to look at. It's popular as well. I know it's a popular mech on tabletop. You can still get like the metal model of this. I really can't stand the metal quads though. They don't even pin together properly. We're in desperate need to get these the quads in plastic. So the Scorpion and the Goliath are the first like wave of that. Hope to see though them doing just if you don't have to do all the quads, but just a couple would be nice, and I think the Tarantula would be a nice place to start. Then number 4, who have we got next? We have got, drumroll please, the Wyvern or the Wyven. Basically, it's like a dragon, right? A Wyvern. Let's have a look at the Wyvern on. We can have a look at this on Flex though because he is just a bipedal. Now, I think we'll just go right through to the 9N here. The 5N's the original version, so it's a mech you can get early on. But because they're kind of moved on now in terms of the Kickstarters, and they are doing mechs that you kind of see either redeveloped or developed specifically in that post-clan invasion era. So let's just have a look at the 9N here. So it's a 45-ton mech. I actually quite like the Wyvern. I think I don't think I've ever played with it on tabletop. But it's a solid mech. We'll go have a look at its design in a second because it's kind of a weird looking mech, which is interesting. But it's got everything you'd expect from a 45-tonner. You know, if you're looking like something like a Blackjack, it's got 464 like a Blackjack. It's got similar levels of armor as well, I believe. So, you know, pretty good for a 45-ton mech, having like 15 points of armor there on the side torsos. Weapon loadout is, you know, for me, is actually really quite solid for a 45-tonner. 1 L pulse, 2 M pulses, 1 LRM10 and 1 streak SRM2. I know what people are going to say. They're going to hate on the M pulses and the L pulse because it's in a sphere. But again, 3052 era. You know, you're getting those kind of like redesigns of mechs using more interesting weaponry. There's case on here as well. It's kind of good case because it's got the SRM2 ammo and the LRM10 ammo, but you know, it's got like it's padded out with those double heat sinks in the side torsos, so you've got a good chance of it not hitting your ammo if you do crits or if you kind of smash through into the internal structure. What I like about it as well, it's got just a regular fusion engine that really does increase its survivability. I'm looking at this mech in that era again. The fact that it's jump capable, it can kind of get over like difficult terrain. Get positionals. Again, you probably struggle against clan mechs here, but just a nice mech, an interesting mech. I think it's got a balanced feel to it. You know, it's got maneuverability, it's got decent armor, it's got all the kind of new weaponry on there, like the double heat sinks, the pulse weaponry, the streak SRM2. So an interesting mech, I think, and certainly something that you could have got quite easily in the new Kickstarter. In terms of design, I just love this. It's got like these thick hips. It's got like birthing hips almost. Really kind of unusual design, and it's very like anthropomorphized. You know, it's got like it's almost like a Commando Mark II. But unlike a Commando, it's not just like an explosives factory. It actually has some decent levels of armor on there, and it's not got its ammo stupidly placed. It's got like a real feminine quality to it as well. It's got like almost like high heel boots on or something. Just just a really interesting mech. I think it would really... I can imagine this having like a really, really interesting design if someone like Scroggins got hold of it and was able to kind of put his stamp on it. Next up then, number 3. It's going to be a short one today. There's only 3 more to go. We have got the Yazil, however you want to say that. So let's check him out. We'll go into the stats first, then we'll have a look at the design. Yazil. There he is. So we'll just have a look. This is a nice, easy one to choose from. It's the 2S, the 3063 variant. 50-ton mech, so another medium. It's a 696, so considerably faster than what we saw previously with a Wyven. However you want to say that. Really, really decent weapon loadout here as well. 2 regular PPCs, which is what we like to see. I'm not a big fan of the Innisphere ER PPC. The regular PPC is just fine. Decent range, nice heat, does decent 10 damage. SRM6 on there as well. And then 2 machine guns. And machine guns are, you know, just a couple, always quite useful if you're kind of going up against infantry especially for a fast mech like that. So, you know, very, like, interesting, like, mech here. In terms of its, like, critical loadout, it's got a Beagle Active Probe, which is, I suppose it's not as useful as having, like, ECM equipment, but still always, I always think Beagle Active Probes are welcome on the battlefield. No case, but you can see it's really padded out on this left torso, so that's not actually too bad. Reason there is no case on here is because it's an Innisphere mech and it's got endo steel internal structure. You can see these, it has to have this like endo steel on. I think the rule for it is it has to be on all the kind of main parts of the mech, so not the head or the centre torso, but on all the kind of left arms. There's got to be 1 point of endo steel armour, which basically just acts as a roll again, but you couldn't get case on there unless you kind of move the Beagle Probe to the arm. But obviously most mechs are designed with flaws on purpose to make them interesting. So yeah, so no case, and it's weird. The clans get a massive advantage because case doesn't take a critical slot for the clans, but it does for the Innisphere. So it's just the world we live in. I think as well, does it weigh like half a ton or something in a sphere case, and the clan case weighs nothing and doesn't appear, so it's just like space magic basically, which is the clans all over. But yeah, really like this mech. I know its weapon loadout doesn't really work in synergy. If it was just 1 PPC and 1 SRM6, I think it would be problematic, but 2 PPCs and at that speed really kind of allow it to get around the battlefield. Heat management is not great. You see there 20 points of heat sinking. If you're going to do like 2 PPC shots and a max jump, that's going to generate 26 heat. So yeah, you're going to cook quite quickly with this chap if you do that. But you know, if you can kind of get in a statutory position and just kind of stay stationary, maybe get like in trees or in cover, and then you're kind of pinging off PPCs, good for that. So it's a good utility mech because then you can kind of get up close. So if you really can't, you know, SRM6 is a solid weapon, so you can jump in there, do like that skirmish, you know, do a full jump and an SRM6 and 1 PPC attack. That gives you the full 20 points of heat management there. That's pretty good. And then, you know, you've got the Beagle Active Probe if you need to do any kind of objective, like mission type stuff that requires a Beagle Active Probe. So solid mech. In terms of how it looks, very much looks like a clan mech this. It's kind of irking on the designs of some relatively famous like clan light mechs. Thinking, is it like the Ulla? The Ulla's kind of got that kind of look to it, I think, off the top of my head. Not great with clan mechs, though, as you well know. But what I like about the design here, it's if you watch the old video that I did in the top 10 mechs, I did the Raijin, and I remember saying in there that the Raijin had such a unique look. This has kind of got a unique feel to it as well. It's got that like SRM6 like rotary function there, and it looks like it's aping from clan designs, but it's got that Innisphere spin on it, and that I really, really like. So yeah, good one. I think a lot of people are quite, you know, would be happy to get something like this. Again, it's a 3063 mech, so it might have been a little bit too late for the last Kickstarter, but, you know, just interesting. I mean, look at those feet. It's got this weird, like, little toes going on here. So very, very fun mech is the Yazil, however you want to say that. Number 2, then, we have got The Viking, the big boy. Look at the size of that thing. It's like a stalker on steroids, the Viking. Absolute monster. Let's have a look at the Vikings loadout, though, before we delve into the design. So again, a late mech, so we'll have a look at the 2F here. Yeah, this really is a walking LRM platform of yore. Interesting mech as well. Interesting, like, call it a Viking. You'd expect a Viking to have like a big axe in its hand or something, but no, not this. It's just an LRM spammer. 90 tonner, pretty slow, but again, if it's doing LRM spam, that doesn't matter. It's got a very, very odd, like, well, it's got an amazing weapon loadout on top, right? So you're looking at the right arms and the right torso, left arm, left torso. You've got those regular LRM 10, LRM 20s, LRM 15s with Artemis. So you basically really just want to get this either doing indirect fire or on top of a hill, just firing down. Does, I mean, with Artemis 4, I know that can get countered relatively easy, like post clan invasion. I think I could be wrong there. I don't really use Artemis that much, but one of them gets like countered by the ECM fields. It's like Artemis 5 or Artemis 4. This might be the better one. Yeah, should have really checked that before I had a look into it, but I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me. But yeah, if you're using this just as an LRM spammer, yeah, good. I mean, look at that there. You get 40, 50, 60, 70 LRMs a turn. That is madness. And it's pretty heat efficient at it as well. I mean, you're talking, 22 points for heat if you just stood still. You can sink 20. So just standing there, spamming LRMs, you're generating 2 heat a turn. And then you get the Artemis function on there. So that's nice. It's incredibly well armoured. I'd almost like far too much armour, really, for a 90 tonner that's going to be playing like LRM spam. You'd be far better just dropping that out and sticking more LRMs on there if you can do that. Got weird like secondary weapons as well, but this is obviously in case anything gets up close to it, or whether like infantry try to do nasty things to it. So 4 machine guns, 2 S lasers there. Ammo is a problem on this mech, though it does have case. But remember that if you blow up the ammo, if you're playing like traditional rules, that will cause them. If you get an ammo hit, you basically eject anyway, because just to basically keep the mech warrior alive. There's a lot of ammo on here, and it's quite troublesome. I mean, if you're hitting on the left torso, I mean, there's so much armor here. But if you do get through, you've basically got like a 50% chance of getting an ammo hit, which is going to devastate you. Ammo levels are good though, and I suppose if you're kind of looking at it on a pragmatic level, you're going to have chewed through a lot of the ammo. So you might have got through like 2 of the LRM 15 or the LRM 20 bins by the time anything gets close to you, if you can kind of stay back. But it's still dangerous, and having the machine gun ammo on there isn't helping any either. Would have far preferred it just to ignore, not to bring machine guns, and just put like a double heat. You might not even be able to get a double heat sink on there for the inner sphere, because it takes up 3 points. But just something to pad it out a little bit, as opposed to more ammo. But yeah, let's just have a look at this thing. It's a very, very interesting looking mech. As I said, it's basically like a Stalker on steroids. If you know the Stalker, it's got those like big boombox LRMs and the Sumas RMs as well on the Stalker. But this is just purely dedicated. It's a bit of a cross between a longbow and a Stalker. A late mech as well, an interesting mech. I do enjoy a mech as well that has like guns on the legs. I don't know, it's such a weird optic. Not great in terms of tabletop, because you can only then fire in the front arc. So if infantry are going to be problematic for you, they're just going to try and get into your side and your rear arcs, and then you can't gun them down. So a bit of an odd placement choice, that. Anyway, what do we have at number 1? Let's have a cheeky drum roll. And it's the Legacy. Have a real thing for the Legacy. We'll have a look at how he looks in a second. Let's have a look at his loadout, though. This is a late mech, and it's a mech that I've always kind of affiliated with the Word of Blake. So we'll just have a look at the 0-1 version. I really, really like this mech. It reminds me a bit of an Inner Spear version of the Blood Asp. We'll talk about that when we look at it, but it's got those like 2 big guns on top. but instead of having Gauss rifles, it's got the UAC 10s, which I love a UAC 10. So let's have a look at him. He's an 80-ton mech, 3064. He's a 353, so pretty slow. But the jumping at that level is quite good because it means you can just jump and like a turn like mid-flight or whatever, and then, you know, it just gives you a bit of an advantage. Got the improved C3 on there, which I actually quite like. Playing C3 networks is something I've only recently got into, well, say recently, over like the last couple of years. The improved C3 network is pretty solid. I think the general trick with C3 networks is never to bring like a full company or LAN, so you just bring a couple of mechs that have got it. You get the advantage then of, if you brought an improved C3 mech that was quick, you can basically run very, very quickly and take the, I mean, I'm not going to go through C3 too much, but you get the advantage of the other linked up mech in terms of their range. So you could be back at long range, and a faster mech that's got right up close into short range of your opponent, you might get a turn or two before that light mech gets crushed of being able to take a short range modifier while you're at like long range, which can be devastating, especially for a mech like this with like 2 UAC 10s, especially with a decent pilot in there, or a decent mech warrior. Armour is okay, you know, I'm got to be honest, like my kind of understanding of armour is just to kind of look at side torsos, and 27's not bad, 40 obviously on the centre's good, pretty decent armour on the legs. Arms, yeah, I mean, all looks fine to me, does that, for an 80-tonner, especially which has got a bit of speed on it. Let's have a look at its weapon loadout then. So again, 2 UAC 10s. We got 2 ERM lasers, 1 ERS laser, a Streak SRM4. It can do 20 points of heat sinking, which is actually pretty good unless you are double firing the UACs. Actually, is that right? I might be thinking of the rapid fire rule just for regular UACs. I don't know if I've just completely... Someone remind me in the comments, do you do double heat when you do a double UAC strike, or do you just get the 4 heat? I can't remember. If it's the former on that, then it's... Yeah, you're going to have to kind of manage your heat a little bit better, but there's nothing on there that does too much heat. It's not like you've got any PPCs on there, or Innosphere PPCs, which are generating like 15 points of heat, so I'd say pretty good heat management. I can imagine this is a mech that's quite popular on tabletop. It's got the, it's got case, so that's good, especially if you put like a good mech warrior in there that you want to not die if you're doing campaign ops. I'm all right with the ammo levels here. We got 1 SRM point. We got too much UAC ammo for sure. But you've got 2 UACs, and if you are double firing, that's 4 per turn. So you can basically chew through an entire bin in 2.5 turns. Presuming you don't get what do you call it? If you rolled snake eyes with UAC, it jams. What you can do though is then you can just dump that ammo. You could probably dump 2 bins of it quite early on, which I think's not a bad idea. I'd probably just go in and empty 2 lots of this on either side like that. And then that just, then you can take a free hit on there, so it's just a higher chance that if that bin then gets critted, no harm, no foul. So yeah, love the Legacy. Just think it's not a mech that you hear much about either, but I always, when I came across it, just because of its aesthetic, really, I really, really like the way it looks. Let's just have a cheeky look at him. Again, he does have that Blood Asp feel, right? He's got that like pointed head, the 2 big guns, so it's like the Innosphere Blood Asp. I like it that it's got that little fist on its left-hand side. It's very much like a mech designed with like utilitarianism in mind. So, it's got the jump jets, it's got good weaponry, it's got decent heat balance. It can pick up something if it needs to, so it can use that like that hand actuator for a punch. Like its design as well. I love those like the mech design legs like this. Looks very like avian. It's like a battle bird almost. Very, very fun. I like as well. I love the SRM4, which I presume is this up in the corner here. So just a great mech. Just would love to see it as a new plastic. I wish they never would have done this because we were very lucky to get the Blood Asp, but I would have seen the Blood Asp and the Legacy to be in like, in the salvage points together, so you got 50-50 chance of either, because they are so similar and they're both like similar weight classes. One's the Innosphere version, obviously one's the like the Clan version. So yeah, That's my 5 for today. That's like the supplementary picks. Again, I asked for a few corrections there, so somebody correct me. Some of you are very good at that, so that would be nice. And as well, if there are any others, I mean, there's no reason I can't do another supplementary video over the next few months to do another 5, bringing us up to 20 in total for some ideas for the next Kickstarter. Anyway, I will leave it there. I will thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.